The Defenders, Episode 6, Ashes, Ashes. This was definitely an awesome episode. Had some surprising moments, without a doubt. I think, two character deaths, fairly surprising, but ultimately it was super cool. We get to have, and not only do we get to see Matt and Jessica kind of working the mission, which I actually thought was really, really cool. It went towards, the more Jessica Jones side of things, where it's like, all right, well, we have these investigations going on. They go back to Jessica's client. They end up talking to the daughter. And they have a great moment. They have a couple of great moments during that scene. But first is Jessica basically telling the story of Matt's father. Like, we find out later she just did investigations on him. But that was pretty cool. I was like, I like that little moment. I just assumed that they kind of talked in between. I don't know why I thought that, like, he's going to tell her his whole life story. That didn't make any sense that I would think that. But for some reason, that's what was in my head until they explained it. But they have a really great moment when they're getting answers from the daughter. It's like, oh, he would sit at the piano, but he just wouldn't play. He would just kind of sit there all the time. And I was like, there's going to be something, of course, in the piano. So Matt's like, you mind if I, play? Like I used to play a little bit. Played up the whole blind thing where, like, he bumped into the thing and all that stuff. And so, he starts playing. I'm like, I know what he's doing. I would think that with his abilities, at least, he'd be able to tell that there was something in there automatically, but I guess they just had to play up the scene, because it's like he can hear people. He heard like a silenced gunshot in a penthouse. He knows if he touches that thing, he can feel the reverberations, and it's like, okay, all these keys feel like this, and then these keys feel like a little heavy or something. He would feel that with his powers. Like, I know he would, because that's his power. But they had to play up the scene, so he's playing the piano and stuff, and of course he gets to a certain key, and it's off. It's off note. So it's like there's something in the piano. It turns out that it's actually a map that goes with the C4 that Jessica found, because this architect got the C4 not because he was still doing something to work with the hand, but because he planned on blowing up the building that he built for them, which we also find out Midland Circle is actually the same place from, like, Daredevil. I guess that was season 2, but I think it was the same as season 1 as well. I'm not sure if that's the exact same building, because Kingpin killed a dude like a super long time ago in the first season, and it was like a giant hole. I don't know if that was the exact same building, but I think it may have been, because that was like the whole point. Is like they were digging a giant hole, and then season 2, that's where it was like I think Matt and Elektra were finding like a bunch of the hand, and it was like construction and stuff. But I think it may have been the same building for both seasons. So it was like, yeah, I never brought that up. It didn't seem important. So that turns out to be a fairly crucial portion of the story for them. But it was pretty cool. I was like, I like this portion. They find the map and what the architect was doing exactly. All of this, unfortunately, comes after a huge issue with Danny, where Stick kind of brings up the idea of maybe getting rid of Danny, and he starts to freak out a little, because everyone seems like they're saying like, oh, it's probably not the worst idea, but of course they don't want to actually kill him. And it's like, all right, well, how do we hide him, or how do we kind of make sure he lays low for a while? And Danny doesn't want that. He's the immortal Iron Fist. He's got to defeat the hand and all that stuff. So he tries to fight back, and it was a pretty funny sequence. It was just funny. Like, he tried. He always tries. That's like his thing. But he wants to push past them, and is like, look, I'm not going to just stay here. Like, I have to fight the hand. That's what I'm supposed to do. And Matt's like, can't let you do that. And he tried. And like I said, it was really funny, because he punched Matt in the face, and it's like, okay. Matt took that punch like it was nothing, too. It was like, alright, boom, and he punched him in the face so fast. I was like, what the F? Like, he just punched him out of nowhere, and the fight began. And so he's trying to take him on, not going super well, but then they have a pretty awesome moment. Like, he's going through with everybody, and naturally he's like, alright, it's time for the Iron Fist, because you guys are beating me up, because I can't take on three people with superpowers. So it was like, I gotta use this to get out of here. And he tries to punch Luke, and basically hits him in the chest instead of in the face, and it almost like reverberates the power of the Iron Fist. So he knocks Luke back, but he sends out like this big shockwave, and he probably knew that he had to do this. Kind of like what they unfortunately skipped during their first big fight, when he probably hit the ground and blew everything backwards. He knew it wouldn't have much of an effect on Luke, so it was like, all right, well, I have to use this same power on Luke. So instead of hitting the ground and blowing everything outward, he just tries to hit Luke, and it sends Luke flying in one direction and sends everybody else flying backwards, because he uses so much power on a nearly immovable force. and it just sends that power, flying all over the place. So Danny gets sent flying backwards. Jessica, Matt, and Sticker flying backwards. Lucas sent, flying. Technically, he was flying backwards too, but they all hit the ground, and Danny's like, "All right, time for me to get out of here." And Matt still ends up grabbing him, like he's messed up because it's reverberating, and he just grabs his leg and trips him. And then Jessica comes over, and is like, "Sorry," and just knocks him out. And it's like, well, they got him now, so they lock him up. Technically, they just tie him up, and so that's when they kind of leave him there, and it led to some pretty awesome stuff between Danny and Luke, because of course they're doing, they've done it a bunch, and they're gonna probably do it some more before the season's over, but it's the Heroes for Hire deal. It's like we have to have Luke and Danny talk. They have to have their moments alone. So Danny, of course, is locked up. Luke is talking to him, and it's just like, hey, this is what's happening. Like, if you didn't freak out and fight us and listen, this is, you probably would agree to our plan, but this is it. So they're talking back and forth, and Danny's, just tied up, and he's asking about, like, Luke and Jessica, and, Luke is like, since he's tied up and stuff, he sarcastically asked him about how he fought, the dragon, and then he's like, I was just effing around with you, but then, it's like, he is the kid, like, he really is the kid of the group, and it was like, oh, he's sad, he's like, looking at him like, oh, he's the sad kid right now, so he's like, go ahead, tell me the story, like molten heart and everything. So they kind of laugh about it and stuff, and that, that's how they get a little bit closer. But it was like they keep doing that because of, the Heroes for Hire thing. But I like those moments. I actually really like those moments because it'll start kind of with normal Danny, which is some issue, some random issue. But then it'll ultimately evolve because Luke is just trying to help him out, like he does with most characters, where he's like, I'm just trying to help out this one person, and then Danny's like that person now where it's like, we both got powers, but you're a little messed up. Like, you're super emotional and everything, which they take every pot shot. I didn't mention that in the, I swear it had to have been every other episode. There's some reference to him being like a kid or being stupid. In the last episode, that was something I didn't mention from our review. So one day saying like, you were the dumbest Iron Fist ever or something like that was the funniest thing. Is like, every other episode, or every episode, I guess, after episode, I guess starting in episode 4, because Stick called him like a thunderous dumbass or something really hilarious, but that wasn't as bad when it was just, his phone. It was that, and then I think the same episode, Matt saying like, stop acting like a kid and stuff like this, like, don't treat me like a kid, and Matt's like, well, don't act like a kid then. So it's like, they take every chance they get, even in episode 3. Same thing with Alexandra. She was like, I admit, after everything I've heard, you're much more disciplined than I ever, anticipated. It's like, they take every single pot shot they can to F with him. So it's super funny, but, that's kind of what they're doing with Luke and Danny, where it's like, Luke is trying to be almost like the big brother, to this guy. So it was actually kind of fun. That is sort of how it plays out, in the comics as well. I'm not super familiar with the characters too much, but that's kind of how it is for sure. Danny's far more mature in the comics than this version that they've made for him, where he's like the spoiled brat. Like, he really isn't like that, which is the funniest thing. Is like, what I know of Luke, not Luke Cage, but Iron Fist, he really isn't the spoiled brat, even though he has like the money and all that. He is like an actual monk, where he's like super chill about everything, and then it's go time. But in this, he's just like, I'm freaking emotional, and that's why I can't ever effing use my powers, because I'm so emotional. I can't use it. And I've said it a million times, but they need to literally just have a moment where someone's like, hey, you know how you're angry all the time? Use that as your chi, because that's what he needs to do, because he's so effing nuts, where he just keeps getting mad and he can't do it. Even in the middle of fights, when it's like, he should be focused on destroying people. Episode 3 comes along, gets into a fight. Once he gets around it, he's like, I'm trying to do it, and now I can't. So it's just like, classic move. So of course, him being knocked out, it takes forever for him to build up his chi, because, I don't know, he got knocked out, and they just don't explain. That really is one of the issues. It's still an issue, still up, and everything is just, they did some stuff. They started with a weird version of Danny Rand, and then they also never really went into exactly how his powers work. Because that is how his powers work as far as the whole chi thing, but they do it like, just, who knows, might happen, might not. Will he die? Will he live? He won't ever die, but will he get the Iron Fist? Will he not get the Iron Fist? Most likely not, because otherwise that would be entertaining. But, it's just that infinite question. Will it work? Will it not work? If it's gonna work, it's gonna take forever for him to charge up. And that's exactly what happens in this episode. He's like, once I get my chi, I'm out of here. I'm definitely gonna get out of here. So they're talking it out back and forth. And then, of course, it gets towards the end of the episode, and, Stick ends up making like this weird little drug or whatever. And I thought what he was doing was trying to get Luke to kind of break free of his whole idea of like, I'm not here to hurt people sort of deal. It's like, I just want to get stuff over with. It's like, you could do a lot more if you just let go. I thought he was trying to send him like a weird acidy drug trip to kind of get him to break free of like, holding back and pulling his punches. But it ended up just being a crazy drug to knock him out. And then his plan was to, kill Danny, which is his plan initially, but everyone was like, well, let's hide him instead, because that's effed up to just kill the kid. So, he knocks out the one obstacle that he has, and Danny's, still chained up, trying to get his chi, and then, that ain't working. He's almost there too. And so he's going through, and then, here comes Elektra. So, as Elektra and Stick are fighting, it's, Matt, I want to just constantly call him Daredevil, but I'm trying to not do that. But Matt and Jessica, well, mostly Matt, he hears something because I guess Luke Cage is so big he heard him from like 2 blocks away. Because they were actually much further away than I thought they were, because they run for a super long time during that action sequence. I was like, oh, I thought they were way closer, but I guess he was just really listening, because I guess it would be an empty building, so it kind of makes sense. But they're taking off, they're running towards them. So Stick and Elektra are fighting. Naturally, these fumes get to Danny, and it's just like, oh man, there goes my chi. Like that little bit of that little glow that he had is just like, oh, nothing. Like his hand literally goes like this, and like his fingers just died, and it's like there's no power in his fist. So it's just kind of funny, but it's like, oh, there goes that chi. And so Stick and Elektra are fighting back and forth, and I was wondering, I was so curious. I was like, I don't know, because he was able to take her on in Daredevil season 2. But she didn't have literal superpowers. She wasn't literally like, super strong and stuff. She wasn't the Black Sky. Also, he had 2 hands. So he's still epic because, he's got, like he's just doing it with one hand. He's fought, who knows how many people they've shown him fight and kill. But I was just like, I don't know. Like, he's at a disadvantage with having one hand. She's at a super advantage because not only is she Elektra, who's already skilled, but now she's like super Elektra with crazy superpowers. And I was just like, I don't know if it's going to work. And it really sucks because it doesn't. And it happens, right there too. And I love the fact that they did this. I kind of hate it too. But the fact that, Matt gets there to see it happen, I think worked incredibly well during, I think it was in the, it's in the next episode, but there's a scene that like works so well. But him getting there to see Elektra, like she stops for a second, like kind of like she did every other time, and she's stopping. And then she goes back into it, and she ends up actually killing Stick. And I was like, I did not see that coming. Like, I kind of did, but from the beginning of it, it wasn't really on my mind. Like, oh, they're gonna kill Stick for sure. Like, it just really wasn't in my head. Even though it probably should have been like somebody has to go. Like, they're gonna have the Defenders, who of course are gonna live, and they probably won't kill any of the side characters. Especially with this being the Defenders, it's not like, oh, it's Daredevil, so maybe they'll kill Karen or maybe they'll kill Foggy. It's like, this is the Defenders, like everybody's in this. They aren't going to kill off one of the side characters, not in one of the main shows. They'll just be like, crap, alright, let's go back to the other 4 episodes where they're fighting the Hand. It's like, there's too much going on to kill off one of the important side characters. So kill off Stick, because it's like, as important as Stick is to Daredevil, as far as, these 2 seasons, he's been in both seasons, but he still isn't like, he still wasn't like that big of a deal. Like, I still feel like Punisher made a greater impact than Stick did with both his seasons combined. Like, he's a part of his, obviously his origins as Daredevil, like teaching him to fight. But as far as like, here's Stick with the ultimate amazing impact as a character, Stick is like, meh. Like, to me at least, I mean, that might be crazy to other people, but for me it's like, yeah, he taught Matt, but he never had like a crazy epic presence. It was always the presence of, he comes here, Matt doesn't like that he's here, they argue, and then Stick is gone again because he's trying to send somebody else to do it, like he did in season 2 with Elektra. So it was like, that was kind of just his story, and he was never like, boom, that impact. Like, Matt O'Gal, to me at least, has, a greater impact. So it was like, of course somebody's got to go, and naturally it ends up being Stick, so he gets killed. Great sequence after that, though, for sure, because we finally get as close... well, I guess not, because the final episode, of course, everybody has to fight. But this is like that moment where it was like, all right, we officially have the Defenders going up against Elektra. And man, she shut that crap down in like, that had to have been less than a minute. Like they officially get there after she kills Stick. It's like, okay, here comes Matt. Boom, he's down. Like he slides across the room. He's passed out in like one hit, and then she's fighting Luke and Jessica. Luke's already messed up, so dealing with Jessica, I think she punched her once and then threw her into the wall. So Jessica was knocked out, and then Luke, it didn't take much because he was already still poisoned. He tried, and then it's like, all right, well he's down. And there was nothing that they could do or nothing Danny could do to really take her out because he was still knocked out. So he ends up officially being knocked out just from the gas. And so sets him free, picks him up, jumps through the window, and then she's gone. It's like, well, great. She took them out in like half a second. They're all completely screwed. And then, of course, she takes Iron Fist to Alexandra. And it was a really good sequence because I love the scene, but I was also really upset because they have the whole sequence where it's like, okay, here's Alexandra, she's having her dinner and stuff. They had this whole sequence where it's like, they had to talk in the last episode, but this was like a secondary, even more intense conversation when they officially find out that Soande is dead. So the four remaining fingers of the hand are like, all right, this is bad. You screwed us up. We have no way of immortality anymore because you used the last of the substance to bring Elektra in. The Black Sky has failed us. You suck. We kind of want you dead. We've all fought each other. Like they bring up pretty much everything. It's like we have survived so much, including assassination attempts from people that we are standing across from right now. Like it's never been super civil. Like we're the greatest family of all time. It's been tough, and Alexandra tries to kind of lead. Madame Gao uses like all the silver in the universe when she's like, oh, it's no big deal, we need to rally behind Alexandra, she's our leader. She's being super sly about it, and she talks to her later, and then of course as she's leaving the room, here comes Murakami, and all she says is, you're right, and she just keeps walking, and that was it. So he ends up going to Alexandra, and it's like, here's this amazing wine that he found on like the bottom of the sea. And they're talking it up, and he's like, I just wanted to kind of make amends and yada yada yada, and I wanted to give you this because I wanted your last meal to be great. I thought they were gonna fight, and I was seriously looking forward to that. And then Elektra came in and kind of broke up the whole thing, and I was like, I kind of wanted to see that fight because I was just like, are we ever gonna see her fight? What is gonna happen? Like, we know she's powerful, but everyone kind of has their thing. Like Madame Gao has like the force, so she's pushing people. I don't know. Murakami is just crazy, I guess is his thing. Like he does like all the martial arts stuff officially, but he's also just like, something about him creeps me out. Like that's like his thing. He's creepy and super intense. And then you have Bakudo who uses like a katana, and Soande was doing like the pressure point stuff. So they all had like special moves that they did when they fought. And then for Alexandra, she was like the leader, so we never really got to see her fight outside of like a minute counter move that she did against Elektra when she's like first resurrecting. She like counters her and then flips her on the ground. That was it. So I thought we were gonna get an actual fight sequence, and I was so sad. I was like, I kind of want to see this happen because he's super creepy and intense, and she's always so calm in all the situations where it's like, even when they were talking, this is way before Elektra showed up. Just everything she said after he was like, I want your last meal to be great, she was super calm. She was so cool as a cucumber. Like, she got the metaphor and stuff like that. And he's like, you should know that I'm the one that hunts the wolf and stuff. But she was still super calm, and I was like, I want to see this. And then Elektra came in like boom, got the Iron Fist, and I was just like, that's cool, but I wanted to see her fight. So that was like it's not even a disappointment. It was just like, man, I was looking forward to that because he's so intense, and he's putting his gloves on and everything, and she's doing the metaphor, and just like, I'm about to kill you. And then it all kind of shuts down. It's like, oh, the Black Sky succeeded. All right, whatever. It's like that's really how that's like the whole thing. That's how their confrontation ends. Is Elektra shows up finally having succeeded, and it's just like, oh, all right then. I guess I don't have to kill you. I'm not that pissed anymore. We're officially a step closer. So they get down to their conversation, and it's like, everything's great. Check it out. Black Sky got the Iron Fist. I was right. You were wrong. Suck it. And then, of course, she orders Elektra to kill everyone off. It's like, things were crappy. We got other superhuman people coming after him. It's going to be tough. But she got him, so we know that she can kill them. Go kill Jessica Jones. Go kill Luke Cage, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, whoever he might be. And she's, chatting it up. Alexandra's just doing her thing. I'm still the leader. I'm in charge, blah, blah, blah. And Elektra comes in and stabs her in the back with her side, which was a great way to do that. And she stabs her in the back and officially kills her. And I was like, I did not expect her to get killed off that way. I figured she wouldn't make it, but I didn't think it would be because Elektra officially remembered everything. Was like, boom, you are now dead. So Alexandra gets murdered. Elektra's like, hey, you guys work for me now. And that was it. Excuse me. Great ending to the episode. And she also decapitates her because that's like what you have to do, I guess. But crazy moment, and it's one of those shots where it's like, something's about to happen. I couldn't tell. I didn't think it would be Elektra. I thought maybe they were, doing one of those little assassination attempts, and someone would just end up shooting her in the back of the head or something. But man, Elektra just came in, gone. I'm taking over now, and it's like that's just the way it's gonna be. So, pretty interesting way to kind of have this episode go out with all the heroes officially being defeated. 2 character deaths, 1 good, 1 bad, and it's just like, wow, this was kind of nuts. As far as like the last 10 minutes of the episode where the 2 deaths were. So crazy way to end the episode, but it was definitely awesome. I really loved the ending. I love the episode in general because I really loved the heroes for hire little moments they had, and Jessica and Matt actually going out to kind of continue this mission that they were doing. Like, what's the next step in this case? I thought that was actually really fun too. So overall, I really enjoyed this episode. Of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. And of course, there were 2 deaths in this episode. Would love to know what you guys thought about both of them, how you guys feel about them killing off Stick in this episode, killing Stick off in general, how you guys feel about them killing off Alexandra, and of course, Elektra being the one to kill her and then take over the hand. Just in general, we'd love to know how you guys feel about those deaths, and of course what you thought about the episode itself. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.